So what other mediums do you see VR going into now with Facebook involved? Like, I mean, film and what?
Well, I mean,
what
all those things were going to happen before.
Absolutely,
so,
right.
You know, it's not like Facebook's involvement has changed our focus. We're still doing all the same things we were going to do before, but we have a lot more resources to make it happen and actually spend money doing things right for the long haul rather than just doing what makes money immediately to keep the lights on.
And obviously, Facebook is a software company. You are a hardware company.
Yep.
Inside of a software company. That's kind of backward from how that system is usually handled. I mean,
a little bit. I mean, we're a hardware company and a software company. I mean, in the long run,
right.
Virtual reality hardware is it's not going to be hardware that sells. I mean, look at televisions. Like, the big money is not in televisions, it's in making content for televisions. It's going to be the same thing with VR. Eventually, it's going to be commoditized, and the hardware differences between all the different vendors are going to be meaningless. It's all going to be about the content and the software. So I'd say we're actually, probably in the long haul, like, you know, looking years or decades out, probably more on the software side.
Facebook has a huge audience, obviously, and that's one of the reasons it's so cool that you guys are working together now. You can kind of tap into that. But what is the most difficult obstacle that you see in reaching a wider audience, not a gaming audience? That's a niche thing.
I mean, we're starting out with gaming. It's not like
right.
we're immediately trying to appeal to every person who uses Facebook. It's just, you know, we could have appealed to those people with or without Facebook. It's not like the fact that they use Facebook means they're going to buy an Oculus Rift. But I think, you know, we need to make it as easy to use as possible. We need to make sure that there's content available that everyone is interested in, not just hardcore gamers. But in the beginning, gaming is going to be what drives the Rift and VR in general, because the games industry is the only one with the tools and the talents to create high-performance 3D worlds. It's not architecture or communication or design or anything else. It really is the games industry. So over time, games industry people and talent is going to expand into all those other areas, and that's going to help carry VR further.
Okay, cool. So if it is the software that matters, and maybe the hardware is going to even itself out, I mean, you guys are spending a lot of time iterating and making these newer,
sure.
better pieces of hardware. Where do you draw the line and say, this is done now?
Well, we never say, it's not about just iterating and knowing when it's done. It's iterating until you know what you need to be making. And we know what we need to be making. We're not just going along with no target. We have target specs for the consumer product. It's just knowing what you need to ship doesn't mean it's possible to immediately ship it, especially for components that need to be engineered and actually manufactured, and those can have very long lead times on them. So it's not like software where it's just done when it's done. It's done when it was done a year earlier.
So in terms of that final product, those, maybe not the specs necessarily, but when you picture the final Oculus, what are you seeing? Is it?
I can't say.
Oh no?
I mean,
if it's white, square, round, nothing?
No, nothing
No,
like that.
right.
I mean, we're improving. It's not like we have to imagine it. We've got a pretty good idea, but it's higher resolution, higher frame rate, so it's running at over 1080p. It's running at 90 hertz rather than 75 hertz. Smaller, lighter, more comfortable. Okay. A lot of different improvements across the board.